Hello, Southern California, and welcome to this week's edition of Right on the Money with Tom Mosley. He is the founder and president of Mosley Wealth Management, and I'm your host, Kristen Oakley. We've got a great show for you today, a very special show. For those of you that might be new to Tom and to this show, he has now been in the industry this year, as of this year, for 30 years. And he wants to share with us today some key things that you need to know based on his work with retirees for the past 30 years. So Tom, my friend, I'm excited to hear everything you have to share with us today.
30 years ago, Bill Clinton was president.
I know, I remember it well. Hard to believe, right?
A long time ago.
Yeah.
I've been in the business and seen so many changes to this industry, so many changes from the baby boomers were just turning 50 in 1995 when I was first into the industry. And I remember telling them, and I've told the story before, I told them, I said, I want to work with retirees to make sure they never run out of income the rest of their life. And they looked at me a little bit like I was crazy because they were used to people coming in and saying they wanted to work with doctors or lawyers or people that had amassed fortunes or money in a big way. And I said, I want to make sure people don't run out of income the rest of their life. So I was a little bit ahead of my time.
Yeah, for sure.
I guess it's like the country music song. I was retiree oriented before retiree oriented wasn't cool.
Right, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I was country before country wasn't cool.
Right, yeah.
And it's been a great ride. A lot of things, you know, I've been through. Think about it. I was coming into the industry right after the 1994 downturn and the Orange County bankruptcy here in Southern California, where we always thought that municipalities were too big to fail, and we thought that muni bonds would always pay off, and if they didn't, we thought the government would back them up. And we found out the year before I got in the industry, not true. I got in right at the foot of the .com just explosion, how things went well, and then I was around in 2000 when .com exploded, you know, and it just fell. And in 2000, 2001, and 2002, that was the first time your 401k became a 201k because, you know, we had about a 50% downturn during those 3 years.
Yep.
And then, you know, we came back. It came back with the housing boom that we had in the early 2000s. And then we had the financial disaster of 2008. And then, you know, just 13, 14, 15 years of almost every year of being up. And then we got hit by COVID. We got hit by where COVID was not a bad year, because even though the market went down over 30% in just a matter of 20-something days, even though it went down like that, the year that COVID hit in 2020, the market was up 20%.
Right.
So weird things.
Very, very weird.
And then 2022 and you always know 2022 because bonds and stocks were all down 22%. So it just stayed consistent. So when you go through a lot of things like that, I hire a lot of younger people, and we try to teach them that, you know, what the situation that you're in right now, that we're going through right now with investments, with insurance, with financial planning, it's a temporary situation. It's not going to be this way forever. There's going to be ups and downs. I always tell my guys who are into sales, I say, you know, when you're selling everything and everybody that's coming in is joining us, I said, you're not that good. And when you're not converting anybody over into clients, you're not that bad. It's somewhere in the middle. So you have to have a little bit in this business of equilibrium, and where you just settle and you don't get too upset when the market goes down. You know, by this point historically it'll always come back up. When it goes up, it's going to have times where it comes down. And you know, I've had people that have come in and they've been scared of Brexit. When, you know, that was something that I had one guy I remember said, take all $600,000 and put it into cash. We put it into cash because of Brexit. And when the market had gained after Brexit, because it did go down a little bit with Brexit,
right?
But when it had an overall upside of about 9%, and he had lost the 9% because I'm doing what he told me to do.
Right.
When he had lost the 9% of the upside, he decided to get back in. And I always told him, I said, you know, if we'd just stayed in.
Stayed the course.
We have a great friend, 𝗑𝗏𝗍𝗍,
yes,
who is a 13 times New York Times bestseller. And he always says, it's not timing the market, it's time in the market that makes the difference. And I think that's why a lot of people are geniuses when all they're doing is saving their money in a 401k when they're in the accumulation phase, when they're growing. Because you're putting money into the 401k, the market goes down, you don't go run, take it out. You shouldn't, because the market overall historically, not promising that it'll always do this in the future, but the market will always bounce back. And so you just have to have a peace about things and a contentment. That's why we're really encouraging you that to have a plan, and to have a plan that's going to be there for the ups and the downs, and just a survivable plan no matter what happens in the market. If you have that kind of plan in place, you're going to have so much more peace about your retirement and your financial future if you have that kind of plan. And that's just the overall of what I've learned in 30 years is you don't get too excited over anything. And you know, sometimes now with the market as high as it is, sometimes that Dow Jones will go down 1,000 points or 1,200 points. Okay, tomorrow the sun's going to come up in the east. It's going to go down in the west. And I've got money invested in the market too. I've got money invested in annuities too. I've got money invested in life insurance too, just like my clients.
Right. You eat your own cooking, right?
I eat my own cooking. Everything that we encourage our people to do, if it's good for the goose, it's good for the gander, I think is the old saying. If it's good for you, it's good for me, and I have used those same things in building my own retirement plan. And I invest in what we do. Okay, I invest in the funds that we have put together and the sleeves of investments that we have put together through the years. So my money is right where your money is if you're working with us. And you just have to have a contentment that, yes, it may go down, but it'll also come back up given time.
It's so well said. Well, I'm excited because, you know, we know that successful retirement planning involves careful planning and informed action. And what Tom has done is compiled a list of the essential tips and wisdom and pieces of advice that he has gleaned over his past 30 years of working with retirees that he definitely wants to share it with you, our viewers. So should we go ahead and tackle this list today?
Let's jump into number one.
All right, perfect. So number one is know your retirement goals and lifestyle needs. I hear that and I think you have to know where you want to go, right?
Right.
But you also have to know where you're starting from.
I almost feel like Roy Orbison singing a little Roy Orbison Pretty Woman, because in that movie, there's a guy who walks down a street in Hollywood and he says, what's your dream? Everybody's got a dream. And that's where your retirement planning starts, with what is your dream? Because if you were to go to your next door neighbor, hey, if you go to the bedroom where you sleep with a spouse, their dream may be different than yours in retirement. I'll never forget this couple who came in one time and they were sniveling at each other, and if you've got kids, you know what sniveling means. And they were, you could tell there was a little bit of tension there. And I said, what's going on? And the guy spoke up and he says, well, I'll tell you what's going on. She wants to travel. And I said, okay, a lot of people want to travel in retirement. That's their dream. What's your dream in retirement? And he said, my dream is to go down to the 7-Eleven on Tuesdays and Fridays and buy lottery tickets and a case of beer and come back and watch cowboy and western movies on channel 607 on television. And her dream was to retire and travel. So they had a problem. They had an issue. And at that time, I knew of a travel group out of Garden Grove. This was about 12 or 15 years ago. And I plugged her into that group. And they came in about a year later for their annual review, and they were just as chipper as they could be. And I said, okay, so tell me about what's happened in the last year. And he says, I got this. He said, I'll call her Myrtle. He said, Myrtle got to go to New Zealand and Australia for 2.5 weeks, and she got to go to Europe for 2 weeks. And he said, and I got to stay home. And he said, nobody was telling me I did anything wrong for 4.5 weeks this year, you know? So what's your dream? Even if your dream is different and you're married to somebody who's got a different dream, you can both have your dream. You can both successfully fulfill your dreams, but all of your retirement planning starts by having a dream as to what it looks like. And that's what we ask when you come in and you want a retirement blueprint. We start by saying, hey, what do you see retirement as being? What does it look like to you? Now look at the dollar cost in that couple. Mm-hmm. She wanted to travel. Mm-hmm. And during the go-go years, she should travel. She should travel while she's able. Yep. So that's probably going to be 2 or 3 major trips, international trips, every single year for 5, 6, maybe 10 years. That's got a price tag to it, especially now with inflation, because inflation has hit travel and other things at a very high rate. And going down to the 7-Eleven and buying beer, he never said eggs, he just said beer, but going down to the 7-Eleven, buying beer, coming home and watching TV, watching cowboy movies on TV, if that's his dream, that doesn't cost as much. So everything in your financial plan for retirement starts with your dream. Is it a house in Havasu? Is it a fifth wheel? Is it a motor home? Is it traveling the United States? What is it that is your dream? And that's where you start. That's the number one thing I encourage everybody to do is, like the movie, what's your dream? Everybody's got a dream, and you only have a few more years left in your life to fulfill that dream. That's what we're dollars and cents and money people, but our real goal is to make sure that your dreams are fulfilled in retirement, and there's a financial tag to it, a cost to it, a price tag to it, and our goal is to make sure that we meet those financial dreams you have with the money you need to do it.
Well, and it all starts with knowing what someone's dream is so that you can build that customized retirement blueprint to meet those goals and to help them achieve those dreams.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, if any of this is resonating with you, if you know that you need help putting a plan together, if maybe you need help dreaming again and figuring out what your goals are in retirement and what your dream is for your life, this is why the team of Mosley Wealth Management is committed to being able to help as many people as possible. But it starts with you picking up the phone and making this important phone call to schedule your time to come in, sit down with one of the all-star advisors from Mosley Wealth Management, and have them build you your very own complimentary retirement blueprint. That number to call is 866-709-1462, or if you'd like to connect online, you can simply scan that QR code and that will get you connected as well. Don't go anywhere. We've only scratched the surface. We have a lot more essential tips and pieces of wisdom that Tom wants to share with you. Stay with us.
Welcome to Right on the Money Moment. My name is Cynthia DeFazio, joined today by Tom Mosley of Mosley Wealth Management. And Tom, I have a very important question for you. The importance of proper holistic retirement planning. Why is that important to folks in the viewing audience today to plan properly for retirement?
It's a great question. A lot of people come in and they talk to us and I ask them, I said, do you have a financial plan? And they'll hand me a 401k statement, or they'll hand me a 403b statement or an IRA account. Now those accounts are great, don't get me wrong. That's like the lumberyard that you use and put together in a retirement blueprint to build a plan. But if you don't have a written plan, you're hoping things work out. If you've got all of your money left in the market like you did when you were 25, 30, 35, 40 years of age, that's where it should be. But if you've got all of your money left in the market in retirement, you've got hope as a plan. Hope the market doesn't go down. Hope I'm still able to draw money out. I have a group of friends that we travel with at least 1 week a year, and we go somewhere, and we're planning next year to go to Glacier. We've got our Airbnb. We've got what we're going to do each day. We've got a rental vehicle. We know where we're going to be, when we're going to be, and we've got it written down. If we want to alter what we do one day, guess what? You can alter it.
Yes.
But if you don't have the plan, you're just all over the place. You're hoping we're going to go up there, find a hotel, maybe we can get a rental car. If not, we might have to take Uber in Glacier. I don't know if that'll work. So you say, well, that's sort of silly. Well, it's sort of silly to go into a 20-year retirement and to spend less time preparing for it than you will on a 2-week vacation somewhere to Europe, or maybe a 1-week vacation to Glacier. So it's really important that people have a written financial plan when they get to retirement.
Tom, thank you so much for such amazing advice. To our viewers at home, you need a plan. You heard it from Tom. Take care.
Well, welcome back to Right on the Money with Tom Mosley. I'm Kristen Oakley, and today Tom is sharing with you some essential tips and pieces of wisdom he has gleaned over his past 30 years of working with retirees, things he wants to make sure that you are aware of and on top of for your retirement. Next up on our list, this is a big one, Tom, and I know it's something that really does set you and the team of Mosley Wealth Management apart as well. Understanding your Social Security benefits. Take it away.
Well, have the dream. Now let's start funding it.
Yep.
41% of the average American family's income comes from Social Security, according to statistics. So that's a big piece, and you've got to get it right. You've got to have a contingency plan so that if in 8 years Congress doesn't act, as Social Security is telling us, they're going to cut benefits maybe 21 to 25%. So what's your plan? Not what's your dream, but what's your plan in Social Security? You've got to nail that if you have Social Security. If you don't have Social Security and you've lived here all your life, you likely have a pension. What's your plan? Let's start building the income. Social Security is the big piece. How do you take it? If you're single, you have options. If you're married, you have more options because you can take it and play off of a spouse's Social Security in some ways, or you can allow the breadwinner, the one who's the largest in the marriage, in Social Security, not the largest size, but the largest money in the marriage.
Check, yes.
You can allow that Social Security to continue to grow. It's a great tactic if you can afford it based on your other things. So number 2, let's start building the Social Security block to make sure when we're going to turn that on. Social Security is a big determining factor in whether you can retire and whether you can afford to retire. So that's a big piece. That's one reason. And you can go to our website, mosleywealthmanagement.com, and you can click on a tab that shows you our seminars. It's one reason my advisors and I hold over 100 seminars on just Social Security, 1-hour seminar where we talk about Social Security in depth every single year, especially this year. So got to nail the Social Security.
For sure, and I so appreciate you all's commitment to doing Social Security planning. That really does set you apart. There's a lot of financial advisory firms out there that don't even have this conversation, or they tell you, nope, just go down to the Social Security Administration and get your information. But the only way you're going to get that personalized advice is by working with a team such as Mosley Wealth Management to give you that individual personalized advice for you.
And I will also add to that, you're very right. Not only do we address it, but we train for it. Every one of my advisors is trained by the National Social Security Advisors Association. It's a course we take. There's 19 modules to that course, and then we take a proctored exam and pass that exam in order to get that certification. We think that's important, it's not just a bait and switch like some people, and they know how to spell social and they know how to spell security, so they think they're experts on Social Security. It's very difficult, and it is constantly changing.
Yes.
The rules are changing, so it's very important that you nail that Social Security piece.
For sure. All right, well, moving on our list of essential tips and pieces of wisdom, next up is gather all your financial information. And I chuckle as I say that because I know we talk about the financial junk drawer, and a lot of folks don't know what they have. You know, they have a bunch of stuff, they're not sure how it all fits together. You have to know where everything is so that you can begin to build that plan.
I can't tell you how many times people have come in to meet with me and they've got a shoebox, or in many cases they've actually gone to Home Depot and gotten one of those moving boxes, and they just go through it, and I don't know what this is, and they'll pull it out, and it's very important for you in your life as you get ready to retire that you know what everything is and you clearly identify it. One of the reasons we don't ever pass out personal advice at our events is because a lot of people will come up after it's over, or they'll raise their hand and they'll say, well, I've got an ABC plan. And I'm sitting there after 30 years and I'm saying, that doesn't sound like an ABC plan. It sounds like an XYZ plan and whatever it is.
Right.
And I get to meet with the people and they bring in their stuff and I pull it out and I look at it and I say, this is not an ABC plan. This is an XYZ, and the tax ramifications are different. How you can pull it out are different. There's all kinds of things that are special about each individual plan. And one guy told me one time, well, it started with a 4. Don't they all start with a 4, like a 401k or a 403b, a 457? No, they're all different. They have different nuances to them.
Yep.
And that's why working with a professional, you have to do the one thing. You have to gather it all together. And it'll help you have it all together, but I'll tell you who it'll really help. When you're gone, especially if you're the financial guru of the family, if somewhere you have pulled it all together, even if you come in to get a retirement blueprint, we put that blueprint together and you decide not to work with us, if you will pull it all together, it will help your surviving spouse, or it will help your children when you're gone to at least have it all together. Gather the information together. So crucial.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I know we have so many more things to cover on this list. Why don't we just touch briefly on the next one, create a budget for now and one for retirement?
Well, the big question when people come in is, can I afford to retire or can I retire? Well, the question is not how much you have in your lumber yard, but the question, and that's your 401k and the money that you've saved. The big question is, how much are you going to need every month to survive or to get by? And we don't want you to just survive. That was a bad word on my part.
We want you to thrive.
We want you to thrive and to enjoy your life just like you do now. And we've been told, and we have this misnomer, that when I retire, I'll spend about half as much as I spend when I'm actually working. Actually, most people look for almost the same budget in retirement, especially those early years in retirement, that they had when they were actually working. So we've got to get that target. Otherwise, the lump sum is irrelevant, because the lump sum is great for now, but if you draw too much every month out and you need that much income, because as I've said many times, thousands of times on this show, in retirement it's your income that matters, not your lump sum. And having enough in the lump sum to cover your needed income is so crucial. So the fourth thing we're going to do, we're going to look at Social Security, okay? We're going to make sure that you understand that after you have your dream. We're going to gather all your stuff together, and the fourth thing that we're going to do is we're going to really hone in on what you need every single month. What's your budget? How much do you need? Now we're starting to work in building a plan.
Again, we can't stress enough, it all starts with having that plan in place. And so if you would like help putting your plan together, again, the invitation for no cost, no charge, no obligation is for you to pick up the phone, call the number you see on the bottom of your screen, and schedule your time to come in and receive your very own complimentary retirement blueprint. 866-709-1462 is that number to call. Or again, you're welcome to scan that QR code and that will get you connected as well. We'll be back with more essential tips and wisdom for planning for your retirement right after this.
My company now, we're up to 12 people, and we have 6 advisors and 6 support staff. Our main office is right across the street from Anaheim Stadium in Anaheim, right above the Partners Credit Union. We're on the 2nd floor above that, but we have a satellite office now in Glendale, north of downtown LA. Out east, we're in Chino. And then down in San Diego, we have a really quickly growing office down in Scripps Ranch. We're still a little bit like mom and pop. We don't just like our staff and our employees. We love them. We have lunch together. I bring in lunch on Mondays, and we spend about an hour just talking about the weekend and talking about life with all 12 of us that are there. There's some businesses where everybody pulls together and where everybody pulls their own way. It's definite in our company that everybody pulls together. We care about each other. It blesses my heart to see a couple of my new advisors come in on a Monday and they're talking about the fact that they took their wives out together, the four of them, and went out for dinner on a Saturday night. In fact, one noted person told me recently, he said the chances that somebody would start a business and in your area and get to where you guys are at Mosley Wealth Management is about probably 1 in 50,000 because of the success we've had and the focus we've had on working with people to make sure they don't run out of money.
Welcome back to Right on the Money with Tom Mosley. I'm your host, Kristen Oakley, and today Tom has been sharing several essential pieces of wisdom that he has gleaned from his 30 years of working with retirees in order to help you set yourself up for success in retirement. And you know, we talk on this show a lot about the importance of having a comprehensive, holistic financial plan. You call yours the Retirement Blueprint, and that's actually the next item on our list is the importance of building that plan. So I'd love for you to dive a little more deeply and share all the different elements that go into that.
Well, let me start by saying what it's not. It's not a 401k and it's not an IRA because those are investment plans. In fact, an IRA is an individual retirement account. Okay, it's an account, it's not a plan. What we're talking about in building a retirement blueprint is you're going to address the 6 major factors of a retirement plan that's different than a 401k. Number 1, we're going to address income. We've talked about that. Number 2, you've got to address inflation. Think about in a 20, 30, maybe a 35-year retirement, how many times inflation is going to, like a whack-a-mole, going to raise its head and you're going to have to deal with it.
Yep.
Okay. Then third, it's got to address your investments. Where are you invested? Are you still invested like a 45-year-old person? Or are you invested like a 65 or a 70, 75-year-old person in retirement where you've got the money you need, you just don't need to lose it? It's like a football team being way ahead at the end. You don't need more money. You don't need to lose the money you've got in a big downturn. So your investments. Then your taxes. How much is it going to cost you to get that money out of your 401k? In fact, the 401k that was a big boost to you and the IRA that was a great thing for you could be actually an albatross around you financially because you've got to pay tax on all of that. And that could raise your income tax level. It could raise what you're paying for Medicare. It could impact you in so many ways. How are you going to address taxes? How are you going to address health care? Because health care is tremendously essential, especially at that time of 70-year-old, 75-year-old, 80-year-old. You're going to likely have health care issues. And then the last thing is, once you're gone, once you're not here anymore, what about your estate planning? How do you leave it? Those 6 things make up that plan that you've got to pull together. And the people who are happy in retirement have that plan. You have a plan, you can actually divert, you can alter, you can go different directions. But if you don't have a plan, you're just all over the place.
Yep, and that's why it all starts with getting that plan. So Tom, thank you so much. I know you have so much more wisdom to share with folks. And we
I know,
I've
got pages here, yes.
We can only cover so much, but we hope that you found this to be helpful and valuable. That's how it's intended each and every week. And honestly, the greatest value and the gift you can give yourself is coming in and sitting down with one of the all-star advisors from Mosley Wealth Management, getting your questions answered and your very own plan built for you. 866-709-1462 is the number to call. Be safe, be happy, be blessed, and we look forward to being back with you next time here on Right on the Money with Tom Mosley.